All right, welcome back to another episode of Just Buy Less Coffee, answering the deeper questions of American politics. My name is Troy, aka Keep Troy Blue. With me, as always, is Cathy Cannon, aka Cannon's Fodder. Off last week, we are back this week. We're watching live footage of some protests at Columbia and University of Texas in Austin. We'll catch up with that later. We maybe tap into that live. If something crazy goes on, we got an eye on that. We'll talk that a little bit. How are you, Cathy? We had a week off, and the world is still crazy.
Yeah, it's testing season for anybody out there in podcast land wondering why Cannon is brain dead. That is why. But also Liverpool completely fumbled the Premier League.
Yeah,
it's like within 2 weeks, right? If there was a trophy for blowing a season, we'd get it. So yeah, it's been fun. But yeah,
Liverpool is on its knees, blowing the game.
Seriously, it's been so sad to see.
But okay, we gotta address the biggest issue of our time, Cathy. Right here, right now. The man versus bear debate. So, if you, as a woman, you are a woman, correct?
Last I checked.
Okay, if you as a woman were in the woods by yourself, would you rather encounter a bear or a random man?
Probably a bear, but yeah. I do want to preface that with I have been chased by a bear, and it was really scary. Remember the story? Like I went to stake Rocky outside, and he started barking, and the bear ran to my door, and I just slammed the door in the face. But what I'll say is that happened once, and I've seen lots of bears. I was sitting on my back patio once, and a bear literally walked seriously 2 feet away from me. I'm sitting out there with a blanket sitting in a chair, and a bear just walks past, and I sit there just frozen. I'm like, don't move. Right. And the bear walked right past me without bothering me. So bear.
Yeah. Big debate going on the TikToks right now, with a lot of women saying what you said, saying they'd rather run into a bear than a strange guy in the woods. And the men folk are all up in arms about that. Just sort of proving the women right, that these dudes are basically completely fragile, taking it personally.
I mean, also I live in Florida, so I've walked past alligators and just been like, don't bother the alligator. The alligator won't bother. I would go so far as to say alligator or man, alligator, because if you leave it alone, right? If you respect its space, you come up on a big giant fucking alligator. Anybody visiting Florida, this is good advice, right? If you come up on a fucking alligator, just don't get scared. I know that sounds like the stupidest thing in the world, because of course you're going to get scared. No, just be like, yo, Mr. Alligator Man. You can talk to them. They actually enjoy it when you talk to them, and just be like, I see you're hanging out here in the middle of this path. I'm not going to bother you, Mr. Alligator Man. Is it okay if I pass, Mr. Alligator Man? And you just go around, give them space. They might hiss. If they hiss, stop, and just be like, no, I promise. We're good.
So if you tell them no, they listen to you and they don't keep...
No, it's like, no, Mr. Alligator Man. Not quite that simple. It's just, it's with the same with the bear. With animals in the wild,
if you tell a bear no, they will walk away.
Yeah, there you go. They're very good. No, Mr. Bear, the honey pots are over there. It's just animals in the wild. If you respect their space, they will respect your space. The same cannot be said of men.
That's true.
Yep. If you let a bear know that I'll turn around, I will leave your territory, that bear will let you go. The same cannot be said.
Same cannot be said for a man. I still can't believe that you were chased by a bear in Orlando, Florida. It's still strange to me that there are bears in Florida. I guess technically there's bears everywhere, but
but they're black bears.
Yeah, black bears. Yeah.
It wouldn't have chased me had Rocky not been barking at it like a freaking lunatic. This dog is gonna get me killed one day. If you ever see a headline, local teacher mauled to death in living room by bear, that's me. It was fun knowing you, because that is definitely
Rocky's a scrapper, dude. Rocky gets in all kinds of fights.
I know he is. None of them are his fault. He just thinks everyone is his friend, and when that proves to not be true, he gets beat up. So it's fine. He's an idiot, but I love him.
Not stopped on TikTok for about a month and a half, because men keep saying really, really stupid things, just trying to mansplain how dangerous bears are. And the women are just like, that's not the point. The point is we know what we're getting with a bear. Like men are, men can do a
No,
lot.
like the point I would
Bears can
say
do.
is like, no. We're fully aware of how dangerous bears are.
Yeah.
You seem unaware of how dangerous men are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So
comment on the show, leave a review or a comment on YouTube, and just let us know, man or bear, where you fall on that
bear.
side. Team bear. I don't
Because
know.
it might be Yogi, and we could have a picnic.
Trump farting himself awake at trial. So Trump has been
quite the segue there, Troy.
Trump has been. We're getting all the like silly shit out of the way first because this is like there's some serious stuff going on. Trump's been in his porn star hush money payoff case, falling asleep in the courtroom and farting himself awake, just literally like blowing up the courtroom, ripping ass. But falling asleep in his like porn star hush money trial, where the star witness is a guy named Pecker. You can't, like, this is just fucking gold. Like, I can't even believe that this is reality right now. The star witness against Trump in the porn star hush money case is George Pecker. So he's getting Pecker slapped.
That was David Pecker.
Oh, David Pecker. Yeah, David Pecker.
Yeah.
He's getting Pecker slapped. We'll talk about Trump's Pecker problems later. But
here's what I'll say. I feel bad for the teachers of the future that have to teach this, because
this chapter is going to be absolutely hilarious.
Oh, having had to teach the Lewinsky scandal. All right. I feel like I've done my due. Right. So teachers of the future, enjoy fucking this one. This one will be permission slip home if things continue.
Jesus. So anyway, Midas somewhat breaking this story last week about Trump's farting. I want to play Ben Meiselas's report on it because he's so fun. He's so deadpan on it in the way that like only Ben could be, because we all know it's hilarious, but like, Ben wanted to make sure that, he's being mature about it or whatever, because he's a lawyer. Anyway, I want to play Ben Meiselas breaking the Trump farting into
the court proceedings as well. Maggie Haberman reports that Donald Trump continued to fall asleep during the proceedings as well. And what I'm hearing from my sources as well is that and I'm hearing from credible sources who know what's going on in the courtroom. And what I'm hearing is that take it for what it's worth, but that Donald Trump is actually farting in the courtroom, and that it's very stinky around him. It's a putrid odor in the courtroom, and that Trump's lawyers are like repulsed by the scent and the smell. And I'm not just saying that to be like, oh, funny. I'm actually, we have good sources there. And I'm hearing it from actual credible people that as he's kind of falling asleep, he is actually passing gas, and that his lawyers are really struggling with the smell. I think you'll actually start to hear more of that, but again, from real credible sources. Now take it for what it is.
I love that it's his lawyers that are grossed out. It's just everybody in his proximity is just grossed out by the old man farting himself awake.
It's like the Rudy Giuliani thing where like that chick got COVID from Rudy's fart.
Jenna
Remember?
Ellis, yeah.
Oh, that was her name. Yeah. I hate, like, how is this the world is what I want to know. Like just to recap what this story is about. The former president and current contender for the Republican nomination for the presidency, who's polling ahead as of today, is sitting in court farting his lawyers into pain while defending himself for paying off a porn star. Like, how? As somebody who lived through the Lewinsky scandal, go back. Remember what a big deal it was that
yeah.
How is this the guy the religious right is behind?
Did Bill Clinton really stick a cigar in her pussy?
Probably. But you know what? Yeah. Who gives a fuck? Because that's nothing. These days, got nothing.
That's nothing
on raw dawing a porn star with your pregnant wife at home. Got nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Several Playboy models, etc., with pregnant wifey at home. Sharon McDougal.
And he's the freaking savior to the God Party. I don't understand it. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting punked. I feel like the second coming will be Jesus coming down and be like, fucking, like, with Ashton Kutcher, like, gotcha, punked. Like, it's gotta be, because that's all, like, I don't get it anymore.
Here's Colin Jost's take on it at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He has a pretty good take on it.
There is an election. There's an election 6 extremely long months from now. So let me see if I can summarize where this race stands at this moment. The Republican candidate for president owes $500 million in fines for bank fraud and is currently spending his days farting himself awake during a porn star hush money trial, and the race is tied?
That's a good line.
The race is tied. Nothing makes sense anymore. The candidate, who is a famous New York City playboy, took abortion rights away, and the guy who's trying to give you your abortion rights back is an 80-year-old Catholic. How does that make sense?
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, I actually had forgotten. I'm mad at myself because I love the Correspondence Center, but I had forgotten it was the Correspondence Center because, testing hell, right? My brain is goo. So actually, I hadn't seen that. That's funny that the Catholic give me your boy. That's actually pretty funny. That
Yeah.
I feel like he has to go. I feel like he went to confession after that one on the truth of it. But yeah, but seriously, like, how is this reality? I get it. Woof. I don't know.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner is why we have Trump in the first place.
I know.
We talked about that on the show. Barack Obama making fun of Donald Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Trump wasn't a politician. He was still just, Donald Trump. But he was the leader of the fucking birther movement going after Barack Obama. Barack Obama sort of mercilessly teased him at the fucking White House Correspondents' Dinner. And multiple sources have confirmed that the reason why Donald Trump ran for president was because he was so humiliated by what Barack Obama said about him at the White House Correspondents' Dinner that he wanted to basically take revenge on Obama. That's how, like, thin-skinned he is. Our entire world has changed because of Obama cracking jokes, and this guy couldn't handle it at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
I mean, at least they were funny jokes.
That's why you don't have abortion rights, Kathy. That's like none of us. Like, we live in this fascist hellscape.
Well, at least it was a good laugh.
Those were funny jokes.
Funny jokes.
Yeah, Obama was pretty funny. I don't know. Biden was okay. He wasn't great.
Biden was good for an 80-year-old man. I don't know. I actually didn't see it, but last year he was kind of funny and he was kind of whatever. But
yeah.
So
a couple other stories. So Trump's lawyers again arguing for immunity before the Supreme Court. This is just absolutely terrifying. Saying that the president can do whatever he wants, including like use SEAL Team 6 to his lawyers saying the president can use SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival if it was considered, an official act of the presidency. So just really scary stuff. You got this guy, it's funny to make fun of him, but there is a real danger here in that he's trying to make the case for he's trying to make the case to turn himself into a king, essentially an unaccountable dictator.
Yeah, like pre-John II, like, pre-Magna Carta king, no less,
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I don't know how Supreme Court's going to rule on that. I mean, of course, like Alito and Thomas are sort of hinting that they wouldn't have any problem with that because they are completely full of shit. But the rest of the court, I don't know. I don't know how this court would vote to do that, and how depressing it is that basically, like, our democracy is on trial at the Supreme Court, and it's this Supreme Court. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. I know. I just, Clarence Thomas was trending the other day, and I got almost hopeful that he died, and I had like a brief moment of like relief, like, oh, thank God. But no, he's alive.
Yeah.
He's a monster. I don't know. I have a hard time trusting this court on this one because, like, Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and John Roberts, all of them worked on the Bush v. Gore thing, right? All of them worked on Bush v. Gore. And, like, as you said, Alito and what's his name, Thomas, are crooked as hell. Thomas ruled on Bush v. Gore, right? So like, I am concerned. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But you know, like, it's not on this one, but Amy Coney Barrett though she's like a wild card here that I didn't expect her to be, right? Because
yeah, she's actually been really surprising on this court. Actually.
Yeah, like you know how like I said that, you know, she wanted to be part of the boys club, but she's too much of a woman for them to take seriously. So she may like be forming a weird alliance with the women of the court, who are all the liberal justices. Like, like in the abortion case over the Idaho thing, she sounded legit horrified when she realized what she had done. Right, like when she's like. Because, like I said, she's just one of those conservative Republican women who drank the Kool-Aid thinking she's saving babies without any real understanding of what this was. And I think she had a fucking come to Jesus moment right there. And perhaps that'll spill over into this as well. And then we just need to win one of the wackadoos.
Kagan and Sotomayor, and to some extent, Ketanji Brown Jackson, we're just blowing the fucking roof off at that Idaho. I've never heard them give zero fucks. Like Elena Kagan was just destroying the Idaho Solicitor General. And you're right. And Amy Coney Barrett was backing them up. You know, ostensibly she's this like pro-life, Handmaid's Tale type figure. But yeah, she was really backing them up. She has been very surprising. She's essentially she and Roberts have become the swing votes on the court. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
I did not see that coming. I really did not.
I didn't either. And there's maybe it's like the legacy of whose seat she took. You know, maybe like there's just so much Ruth Bader Ginsburg energy in that room that she's in, you know, that it couldn't help but seep into her pores. Like the ghost of Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been haunting Amy Coney Barrett, and she's like, "You're right, I shouldn't be a monster." But my take from it was like, literally, I don't think she understood what abortion, like the whole time we've been saying what abortion is this. And I'm convinced she was of the crowd that she just thought it was irresponsible women not wanting to be mothers. And she had convinced herself that that's what the issue was. And like, there was one moment where she literally, I think, said the words, "That's horrifying."
Yeah.
Because I think it was in that moment she realized what these laws really are doing and what their intent is, right? Because I think she could have even been in a position where that, like, the effects of some of these laws isn't what those laws were meant to do, until that guy looked her in the eye and said, "No, yeah, you're right. No, we would let her like fucking liver fail."
Well, she was particularly shocked. She said, quote, "I am shocked" at the section where Idaho said that their law would not specifically that an abortion to save a woman's fertility may not specifically be permitted under that law. Not that it couldn't happen, but it's not specifically protected or permitted. So they're definitely hedging on these exceptions. But for the fertility, she seemed really disturbed by that. She said, "I am shocked that she said, I'm shocked you're hedging on this," because Idaho was basically saying that they would not permit abortions to save a woman's fertility if there's a miscarriage that would damage reproductive organs. They would not permit an abortion for that. And I think Coney Barrett was particularly disturbed by that. Yeah,
because that, like, that's what I'm saying. In her mind, abortion was women who didn't want to be mothers should suck it up and be mothers. But what she's realizing is, no, you've put women in a choice where they have to like risk dying or never being a mother to continue a pregnancy that they would otherwise wish to continue, but for whatever their medical issue is, right? Like, I don't think it ever occurred to her that women who want to be pregnant have abortions.
I don't think it occurs to any of them. I think that blows their mind. Like, having an abortion so that you can have kids. I don't think they can handle that. I think their collective heads explode.
Yeah,
but that was the Kate Cox case.
It breaks them. Yep.
That was the Kate Cox case. She'd had 2 kids already. She wanted more kids. Like, Kate Cox has said that she wants a big family, and she, like, you know, she was having this awful miscarriage. She was like, her uterine lining was rupturing, and she needed an abortion to save her fertility and probably her life. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. And wasn't it like, had she gotten to the doctor like a week later, she would have lost, like, she'd have had to have a full hysterectomy. I think I read.
Yeah. Well, she was, she was like,
her uterus was about to explode in her body.
So was about to explode. Her vitals were crazy.
Like, Imagine appendicitis, but with your reproductive organs. That's what was happening to her. Like, had she survived the internal bleeding and the sepsis, she would have never had children again. And Texas is just like, nope, we're pro-life. Like, how the fuck is that pro-life? In what universe is that pro-life?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyway, that Supreme Court case, that was the case on EMTALA, which is the Emergency Medical Act, something or other. Just
the only good thing the Reagan administration actually did, right? Like, literally, the only humane thing that ever came out of the Reagan administration was, no, seriously, don't turn people away from the hospital. And now Republicans are like, fuck you, have your miscarriage in the parking lot. Like, when the Republican Party has gotten more evil than Reagan, they're lost.
I think, well, we've said, Reagan wouldn't be a Republican today. He was pro-immigration, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he would.
Well, to an extent, as long as he could treat them badly and pay them poorly. Like, don't go giving him too much credit.
He wasn't exactly like a humanitarian.
Exactly.
But Biden administration suing the state of Idaho under this Reagan EMTALA law, which states that emergency physicians have to perform abortions if the woman's life is at stake. They have to they're granted a federal cover against the state law if they go ahead and perform an abortion, even if the state law says they can't do it. So a court battle between Idaho, who's trying to defend the right of states to tell emergency physicians that they do not have to perform life-saving abortions. And the conservatives on the court, conservative men on the court, seem to have no problem with that.
Of course they don't. With
the states hedging on the emergency abortion exemption, not even rape or incest, but now we're saying that, like, oh, we may not even give you an abortion if it means saving.
Like, your blood pressure is still 60 or 70 over 90, right? Or 90 over 70. I'm like, I need to see 60 over 40 before I'm going. Like, what the fuck are they doing here? Like, seriously. But, like, the supremacy clause is having their day, but it's concerning that it's this court dealing with but they sided with the federal government in the Texas Immigration Act, right? And Texas is flubbing that order. So it's going to be a really interesting development if states start trying to, like, you know what? I just don't want to go there in my head. So the supremacy clause, kids, it's a thing.
You do have, so I don't know, you do have the three liberal women obviously horrified by this. You had Amy Coney Barrett, who seemed equally upset. You have Roberts, who's actually been pretty sensible on this. So that's 5. So then you have the 4 conservative men who may vote it, but I don't know. So it may be a 5-4 thing, but Supreme Court, now trying to decide if the federal government has the right to tell doctors that they have to save people's lives. The other thing
it's the court is telling the federal government whether or not the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution applies or not. And like, for a bunch of strict constructionists, as they claim to be, this one should be an easy one. But the fact that it's not concerns me, because
do you think the precedent of a law like that would just destroy the power of the federal government ultimately? Because why couldn't states say that they can do whatever they want? Like,
that's the entire point of the supremacy clause, was to ensure that states couldn't do that. Like, if they rule that states can override federal law, that's Articles of Confederation time. That's South Carolina's nullification, right? Like, that's I, again, don't want to go there in my brain. But
if that's the precedent that Texas is going to sue, Texas is just going to completely ignore. They already are completely ignoring the Biden system.
It would be bad. Let's just leave it at it would be very bad.
The other action that Biden took on abortion was to extend privacy protections in HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act, which governs medical privacy. Biden administration, Health and Human Services Office, last week extended those protections to make it illegal for a provider or a healthcare center to respond to a subpoena, basically to turn over patient medical records in case of a subpoena. Right now, state law enforcement has the authority, DAs have the authority to subpoena medical records in a criminal investigation. If that is related to abortion, Biden administration is basically hamstringing the the states on that. They cannot subpoena women's medical records just to see if they've had an abortion as part of some criminal case. Now that's probably going to get Texas is probably going to sue over that one too. So,
but that'll fall under equal protection, because that would be something that is only applying to women. So there's under what circumstances might you need to subpoena a man's records for this law? And
right.
then immediately,
Medical
but
records,
again,
yeah.
it's this court, so who the fuck even knows?
Yeah. So yeah, a lot going on there on the.
My cynicism is growing. Are you noticing that? Like I'm like, even I'm feeling it. I'm like, I'm getting a little bit overly cynical here, but that's okay.
Yeah. So tell me about the okay, so tell me about the US. So we're gonna shift to some Israel Gaza stuff. Tell me about the Israeli the sanctions on the IDF in the West Bank, and then a possible and then the ceasefire deal that's on the table right now. That
yeah, I was reading about it. It's an article from CNN, and I linked it in the notes. But essentially, as we know, I've been talking about for ages that like there's been some wheelings and dealings in attempts to try to work out some sort of like deal, and that a lot of the public displays of support for Israel are to not blow up negotiations and process, right? So this story came out this morning at around noon, or so I guess this afternoon, whatever. Headline: Hamas to consider ceasefire hostage release proposal that Israeli sources say could avert Rafah invasion. And essentially, it's a pause to hostilities, because for some reason we cannot use the word ceasefire because it will hurt Benjamin Netanyahu's feelings. His pride is at stake. I don't know, right? But basically, Egypt worked it out with a bunch of other, like the way allies in that region have come together here is an impressive thing that we will need to pay more attention to soon. But
agreed.
The call is for, I think they said something like every hostage that would be released would be like a day of ceasefire or whatever, and there's 33 hostages I think still sitting out. They went back and forth a little bit about the numbers and the time frame, so I don't know that stuff is ironed out, but that was the general crux of the negotiations. But so like the first phase would be a series of trading, hostages for prisoners between Israel and Palestine, right? Which is the norm. And then the second phase, and this is my favorite, they've called it a restoration of sustainable calm, because again, a ceasefire would hurt Bibi's feelings.
Okay.
But during that period, they would continue to release the rest of the hostages or whatever. And they basically said it's like a way to have a permanent ceasefire without calling it that. And it's, as far as this is saying, Israel is awaiting a response from Hamas. So they have gotten Egyptian and Qatari mediators, right? They had met in Cairo, so they had discussed this. They've got Israel on board, and they're just kind of waiting on word from Hamas here. So that's where they're at. Blinken has endorsed the deal and basically said, like, this is kind of as good as we're gonna get, y'all. Like, I hate to say, for the moment anyway. Like, no further negotiations are going to take place while bombs are still going out. So if this is what we've got to do to get the bombs to stop going off, then we can take the next steps toward whatever has to happen next. But Egypt and Qatar, man, they have been fucking rock stars in the negotiations here. Yeah. And so that's where it is. So I've been kind of stalking it all day. So it's about a 5-hour-old story at this point, but that's where we're sitting, and that's what I'm waiting on.
Waiting on Hamas. I mean, do we have any? Basically. I mean, I don't know. Is there any hope that Hamas would?
I mean,
sign something like that.
It like the other option is like if Israel goes into Rafah, right? And without our support, which means they don't even have to go easy anymore. They don't have to tone it down. You know what I mean? Hamas doesn't win that. So this might be their only shot at any sense of stability for the Palestinian people, even though Bibi's still sort of like, in the back of his, like muttering to himself, yeah, but we're still going to go and take blah, blah, blah. But I do think this is one of those, put the fire out in the kitchen and then we'll start, with the who did what kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so that's what I'll be watching for the next couple days. Ceasefire in the works.
I don't know, man. Like, Israel is Israel goes into Rafah. I mean, that's kind of like
Yeah, bad.
the death knell of Israel's credibility on the world. They're already talking about like ICC stuff. Benjamin Netanyahu was like pleading for how you doing?
I just spilled soda all over myself.
That was pretty epic.
That was good. I'm glad everyone caught that.
Kathy just did a spit take over the
It's
ICC
fine.
court.
I'm tired, and I don't know where my mouth is, apparently.
Oh boy.
Oh, shut up. Oh, you know what? You're just I'm gonna shut up now.
So I guess Netanyahu's now talking to Biden about calling off the International Criminal Court for some of these high-level Israeli officials that can be charged with war crimes. So but the U.S. is ready to impose sanctions on the IDF in the West Bank. What happened there?
Well, kind of the same thing, because like they're in the middle of like running through these negotiations, and with Bibi going into and expanding settlements in the West Bank, which has already been a point of contention for a long fucking time. He's basically saying like you're gonna blow up any like chance that we have here to make any sort of peace agreement. And it was basically like I'm trying to find the words that I'm looking for, but like the language of all of our kind of like mutual defense treaties does have conditions that they have to kind of, honor. And the point that I think they were making is your continued expansion of settlements into the West Bank and continued tensions in the West Bank, which has nothing to do with either the attack of October 7th or the war with Hamas in Gaza. Your presence in the West Bank is fucked up. And if you don't knock it off, we have no reason to protect you over here anymore, because you're now the aggressor if you're doing this. Does that kind of make sense?
Right.
And it was like specific soldiers within the military who had been like stationed in the West Bank to like maintain peace are like targeting and like overly policing, if you will, the Palestinians in the West Bank, in those settlements, right? So they're basically like, without saying as much, it's a stop targeting Palestinians in the West Bank, or you're gonna really be up shit creek. Because like you said, they're already losing credibility. All of Israel's allies are kind of shaking in their boots about what they're gonna do about staying allies with them if they can't, because there's no legitimate reason that even Europe, like even Germany, would have an out on this one, like after a certain point.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the ICC threatening all of those, like I a little bit wonder if like we didn't know that was coming in the middle of all of this, because like I don't think the ICC moves without telling the US what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why Netanyahu's calling Biden. You know what I mean?
Right. So, but like I think what Biden might be saying is like, I could, but I won't, because you haven't done anything I've asked you to do. So why am I going to do something you're asking me to do? Like, and that's his bargaining chip right there. Right. So
that's why I'm saying I don't know that Hamas takes this deal. I think if you're Hamas and you don't give a shit about the Palestinian people beyond what you can use them as, political pawns, as we've talked about, I think the best thing for Hamas would be for Israel to just pop off and go into Rafah and just kill a bunch of civilians. I think Israel's kind of hanging on by a thread here. I think if they do something crazy, they're officially going to lose. They're officially going to lose the international community, like you said. Like Germany's going to back out, we're going to back out. They're just going to become like this lone actor. And I don't know. It's just.
I think they take it, because remember, Hamas isn't like an independent group or anything. They have ties with Iran, and Iran has come out and basically said, we don't want escalating tensions. And truthfully, I've said it.
Iran is an adult in the room. There's so many fucking adults in the room right now, except for Israel.
But that's kind of like what I was thinking, is that like if the world is kind of preparing for the potential of another Trump administration, and you kind of see that like Europe is freaking out about it because they know it's bad news for them. Like, so remember when it was like the last episode we did, we were talking about Iran's strike on Israel, and we all knew it was coming, and like, Saudi Arabia had, like, it was a very strange bedfellows involved. Remember how I said it might have been one of those, like, we all orchestrated this together? There's a big potential here that like everybody kind of knows that what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing in Palestine is bad for Joe Biden and beneficial, therefore, to Donald Trump. But all of us in the know who've been paying attention for more than 15 minutes know Donald Trump is worse for the Middle East than Joe Biden is for the Middle East. Iran knows that, right? Saudi Arabia know, like they all know that. Like the Saudis could play him like a fiddle and knew how to play, right? But at the end, they also know that if he kicks off World War III, that's not good for them either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Saudi Arabia doesn't want Putin conquering Europe. Let's be real, because then he does control the oil, right? There's nothing stopping him from drilling in the Arctic, right? Like it would be bad for Saudi Arabia's corner on the oil market for Russia to get more powerful. So it's going to be a strange world if like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, all of these countries are coming together to protect Israel to prevent a war that Israel is the bad guy in, right? Like it seems really strange, but you kind of see the players all involved, right? Because it's an enemy of my enemy is my friend. And if it's literally like we might need like our gravest enemies in that region might be working with us right now for the common cause of not letting Donald Trump start World War III, because we can all acknowledge that World War III helps nobody, right? Nobody wins that war. Nobody wins the next global war. And like you said, Iran's being the grown-up in the room. Like Joe Biden is the adult in the situation between him and Donald Trump. Bibi is not the grown-up. Like, what if what they're doing right now is all kind of like, let's table all of our old decades of conflict and let's solve this immediate problem in like sort of a we teamed up with Stalin to beat Hitler because he was scarier kind of problem. What if we are low-key teaming up with Iran to destroy Trump and Netanyahu?
Yeah, all I know is you do have this sort of all the pieces are falling in place to prevent for escalation in World War III and like strange bedfellows and everybody's kind of working together in kind of a strange way. I do know that if Trump comes into if you introduce Trump into this, it blows everything up because Trump is going to back Bibi without conditions. He's going to spurn our allies in the Middle East. He's going to declare war on Iran. He's going to pull us out of NATO. He's going to like basically burn the NATO European alliances to the ground. So
he loves Kim Jong-un, right? So like God even fucking knows. And that's what I think it might be is like, you know, death to America, we've been saying for 80 years, but how about death to Donald Trump first? Like has Donald Trump become so toxic that maybe he is the Antichrist, like that he united all of the enemies of the world against him.
And he's farting in a courtroom. His case is full of hot air.
And apparently it smells like the depths of hell anyway. So he smells like the bowels of hell.
He's a rotten person inside and out. But yeah, no, this is some crazy shit. And you know, and meanwhile, Trump's arguing before the Supreme Court that he has the right to like kill opponents with SEAL Team 6. It's sort of like, okay, well, does Biden get to test out that theory? Like,
you know, right? I was like, say less. Say less.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. You're just arguing for Biden to be above the law at this point. I mean, you like if the Supreme Court says the presidents are above the law, you're essentially arguing that Biden has the right to cancel the election.
Problem solved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Ketanji Brown Jackson made a good point too. I don't even know. I think she was just echoing somebody else's point, but she was talking about that like that impeachment just comes off the table because if the president. Like if the founders intended the president to be above the law, why would they even work impeachment? Because you know, impeachment is based on high crimes and misdemeanors. So there has to be some recognition that the president is subject to the rule of law for even impeachment to be considered. So if this would set the precedent that impeachment is no longer even on the table. So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch unfold.
Yeah. I just need images of the Supreme Court members gagging at Trump's farts. Speaking of Israel, Gaza, so this students are protesting. There's this encampment it's Columbia. I just kind of want to get your general thoughts on this. This is making me really nervous because this is 1968 all over again, or has the potential to be 1968 all over again. This is escalating, and good for them, good for the protesters. But you know, this is getting kind of serious. You have like cops, coming in now and clearing out these encampments and shoving people around, and arresting people, peaceful protesters. So this could get ugly. I mean, this could get really ugly really fast. If Biden hasn't handled this situation by the convention in Chicago is going to be an absolute nightmare. There's going to be a lot of.
That's why I'm hoping this ceasefire thing goes through, because once it's settled, like I said, like a lot of the frustration with the kids is that they don't have the history or the context. They don't know how big or how long this has been going on. All they see is somebody they were told to trust doing something they don't like. And it's a fair reaction from them. They're babies, right? Like imagine had you and me back in 2003, oh God, it pains me to even suggest this, voted for George W. Bush and then watched him go into Iraq, right? Like it was a betrayal when we didn't vote for him. So if we had voted for him, right? Like that's kind of how they feel. And like I said, they're young kids. So developmentally, they're going to be kind of knee jerky and reactionary, right? So, and like I said, I've talked to some of my like students about it who are in college, and you know, when you give them the information, the context, the history, when you explain why people react the way they do to what they're saying, they're receptive to it. And I've said this over and over about Gen Z in general. They seem standoffish and whatever, but really it's just that they don't understand and don't trust anybody to help them understand. But if you can get them to understand and help them trust you, they are receptive to it. And like, I've had a lot of conversations with my kids about it. And like, you know, the more context I give them, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, okay, I understand. And I'm like, you're very right to be on the side of the Palestinian people. That is 100% the correct position to have. It's like, but don't lose the forest for the trees here. You're 100% right to be demanding better of your government. That's awesome. But don't lose the forest for the trees here. Don't take such a hard line on I want my way or else. That's not how it works in foreign policy land. And that's not how it works in like this clusterfuck we've gotten to, because it took a lot to get us here. It's going to take a lot to get us out of here, right? Like we've been an alcoholic for 80 years, right? We're not going to quit cold turkey and have our life together, right? So we're acknowledging a problem. We are making amends, right? But like it's a process. And like I said, if that can effectively be conveyed to them, I don't think it's quite the disaster it feels like right now, but there needs to be effort to convey that to them. That's not happening.
Well, I think by and large, you know, it's very peaceful protest, very like, from what I'm seeing on the ground, you know, multiracial, multi-ethnic, lots of Jewish students participating. So I don't know that this narrative that like the media is trying to force out that these are, you know, like anti-Semitic protests in nature. You do have a few instances of people like praising Hamas, saying, you know, we are Hamas or whatever. And, you know, I don't, like, to your point, I don't know. I just don't think they have the historical context on that. I don't know. Maybe there is some anti-Semitic element, but I think it's pretty minimized.
I think ironically, and like one of the biggest narratives around Gen Z is that they're cynical, they don't trust their government, and whatever, they don't have a good view of America. But I think truthfully, at the heart of this is that they had no idea how bad America was. Like they had too high of an opinion of America. And now that they're seeing what we have been for a long time, they didn't realize that. And that's hard to swallow. You remember you and me learning to swallow it. Remember Abu Ghraib? Remember it's hard to swallow when you realize that you're the evil empire. And that's where they're at. And it's for them a betrayal at every level, because they were told, like they had a very obvious supervillainy bad guy, right? And they rallied together and they defeated the video game bad guy. That's what it was. And they thought they won the video game, but it's Super Mario 2 and it feels like a dream world, okay? And like it's a little bit delusiony and weird, but like politics doesn't end with an election. It's a continuous fight. You have to always be fighting, and it's not always fun, and it often feels gross.
It's interesting to me, the passion over this, because again, like we talked about it on the pre-show, you know, like when we were their age, we were the ones doing the bombing. It wasn't just about funding an ally that was doing bad things. We were doing the bad things.
Yep.
we were killing hundreds of thousands of civilians. We were torturing people. We had the Abu Ghraib shit. We had the Guantanamo Bay stuff.
Blackwater, remember Blackwater?
CIA black sites and legalized torture. And like we were circling the drain fast. Like, so so in our day, that's the kind of shit that we grew up with. And I don't know, I just feel so old now. But the passion of these kids, I'm simultaneously struck by their passion that they're this angry just about our support or our financial backing of Israel when we aren't actually doing anything. But also, it's I don't know. It's
Can you imagine had we had them in 2004? God, that
would we tried in 2003, 2004. I mean, we were called terrorist sympathizers and America haters, and George W. Bush won re-election and handily in 2004.
Yeah, and I feel bad for them because I remember protesting, and I remember like we've been there. Like Troy and I were you guys 20 years ago, right? So like we can tell you what works and what doesn't. And like screaming "yay yay" terrorist organization will not get you very far.
Not in New York,
especially not in New York, because that one should have been obvious, but kids and their passions.
You could never really like throw a blanket, the same way that like you could like throw a blanket criticism at our protests. You can't throw a blanket at these protests. There's a lot of different people there with a lot of some people are just like and again, I celebrate them. I think they're doing the right thing. I think by and large they're mostly all there for the right reasons. And they're getting shit done. I'm just Biden's got to handle this. Biden's got to handle this like now. It's concerning to me that he's so that he's kind of ignoring these protests. I mean, he was just in New York. He hasn't really responded to these protests except to call out anti-Semitism, which is good. But yeah, it's just he's got to get a handle on this before the convention, or it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be
I feel like he knows he's been working on this deal, and in his mind, he honestly thinks like if I can get this deal through, that's how I handle it, right? Like this is what I was able to do. This is what's happening. The Palestinian people will be safe. I feel like that's what he's waiting for. It's a gamble though, because if it doesn't go through, that's bad. But I don't know, man.
Or if there's another Kent State and some of these like jacked up state troopers like come in and start just owning these poor kids. He needs to have his 3 a.m. Nixon moment at the Lincoln Memorial. Just show up like in the middle of the night and start talking to kids. He'll swear he was there, even though there was, he denies it.
Yeah.
So and then on top of all this was the TikTok ban. Now we've been talking about that for a while. They put the TikTok. I was like, there's no way that they're going to sign this. And there's no way that Biden was going to sign this TikTok ban. I never considered that they would slide it in the fucking Ukraine funding. There is no way that Biden was not going to sign that bill because of the TikTok ban. So, the TikTok.
That's why they put it in.
I know the TikTok divestment.
It's the only way they could get the votes for it.
Oh boy, and the president doesn't have a line item veto, so you couldn't just strike that part of it.
No, but I think he's counting on the legal challenge to it because I think the language in it is that it's 12 months, I think, to sell or divest or whatever, and then just imagine that any legal challenge would stay the implementation of it. Right, the legal challenge will drag out for years. In the meantime of that, they'll be working out everything that they're concerned about. And they got the votes they needed to push through the aid that Republicans were killing.
Well, there's no way they can't. There's no way they had to get that Ukraine aid in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That
was becoming a problem.
And it's old school politicking. Remember the ads from the 90s? It'd be like, so-and-so voted against this, like, all puppies are adorable law. How can you not enjoy puppies? When really they were voting against the ban all abortion law that they slid into the all puppies are adorable. So they're like, aha, look, you voted against this provision of this fuckery bill. No, like, I use that example in my class all the time to explain, like, what riders and stuff are. Like, you voted against the bill and you added a rider that you couldn't get through any other way. And it's old school politicking, man.
Well, speaking of puppies, MAGA is now officially the we support the killing of puppies party. But I do want to talk just real quick on TikTok. Do we care anymore? I'm so over TikTok. I'm so tired of it. Like,
I mean,
we had this conversation over text the other day. It's sort of like,
Yeah.
you know what? Like TikTok has just become all of a sudden this like really bad, nasty place of disinformation and toxicity, and like it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
It's becoming just a way for a lot. They continually are just pushing out disinformation while silencing educators and people who actually have good things to say. So I
And
don't know,
it's like
man. Maybe it's
every
good that it,
4 videos is an ad or like
yeah,
some freaking TikTok shop thing. And like even I did a few TikTok shop things thinking that like maybe that's why they're not showing anyone my videos, right? Because I'm not playing their game. So I was like, let me play their game really quick and try it. No, it's not. It's because I talk about things that are rational and I'm not
yeah,
stoking hysteria. And that's you know,
yeah,
it's what it is. I think it was what made it special is that it was kind of a niche thing, and the bigger it got, the worse it was gonna be.
right.
And, it like, same thing happened to Facebook. It was great until everybody got on there, uh,
Yeah.
and now everyone's there and, meh. Like,
Yeah,
I
Facebook
mean, I'm
was
not gonna
really
stop using it, but, like, I wish it worked better than it does.
Facebook was really cool until, boomers figured out how to how to get on there.
Mhm.
I
That
think
was the
TikTok just
worst,
wanted to
man.
be kind of the improved Snapchat, and now it's
Yeah.
gotten too
Well,
big.
I actually saw like an article in like some tech magazine or some tech whatever or something that they're launching a new app called like TikTok Notes or something, which is
Huh.
supposed to be like TikTok's version of Instagram Threads. Um,
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't get too much into it. I
I've
couldn't
heard
find a
that.
whole lot.
Like, yeah, like another.
Yeah, but then it would like depending on how the legislation goes, that TikTok Notes would be an American company. So then they could just divest TikTok to that, right? And then it just continues as it does. So
Yeah.
sneaky little and that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not worried about TikTok actually getting banned because there's enough legal maneuvering to maneuver to make everybody happy here. So I'm not worried.
Shou Chu, the CEO of TikTok, is going to sue the ever-loving shit out of the United States government. So this will be another one that goes to the Supreme Court over First Amendment.
Yeah.
Government overreach, shutting down a company. That's why they framed it in the divestment thing. It's just so fucking slimy. I can't even
Yeah.
fathom how fucking slimy this is. It just makes them. As much as I'm over TikTok, and I think actually getting rid of TikTok is we can all just like take a breath and touch grass.
Yeah.
I think actually might be a good thing. But it's so
Mhm.
slimy the way they went about it. You know what I mean? It's
Oh yeah.
just they're going to sell it to an American company, and the product's going to go down. It'd be like if Ford took over Subaru. It'd just be like, okay, the Subarus suck now.
It was where
Um,
when Jeep took over Daimler Chrysler.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of the puppy things, this is my favorite
It
last story.
makes me so sad.
So, Governor Christina of South Dakota, yeah, she's got a book coming out in like a month or so, and it's it's just I don't know. She's got several books actually. It's weird. But anyway, she's
They come with crayons, though, most of them.
yeah. Anyway, there's a segment in this book where Christina talks about killing her puppy. Uh,
Like, she
she
volunteered this
volunteered
information.
this information. It wasn't a scoop. It wasn't like an expose. It wasn't dug up. She apparently her kids were at school. She had a wire-haired pointer named Cricket, who was a 14-month-old pointer, actually used for hunting. So in context, this is on a ranch in South Dakota, so it's not like for the city folk. It's not. It's a little bit different. Like these are practical, like working dogs. She wanted this dog to be like a hunting dog, which is what pointers are. But apparently this dog sucked as a hunting dog. It was very temperamental. It didn't get along well with the family. So she decides that rather than just train it or give it to a shelter or, like go through the proper channels when you have a dog that you don't want anymore, because it's 2024, not, 1830. She dragged the fucking dog to a gravel pit and shot it. And like, and she's like bragging about it. Like, it's
Like, she's the hero of the story, you know?
like she had to make like a tough decision. And that was the tough
Ugh.
decision she had to make.
The worst was, like, her daughter comes home, "Where's Cricket?" Oh my
Yeah.
god.
But that wasn't the end of the that was the initial shock that what people were talking about was like she killed her own fucking dog. But that wasn't the end of her bloodlust that day, Kathy. She immediately in the book she describes she's got her blood up apparently from like committing one murder. So she decides at that moment that she's gonna carry out another assassination on another family pet. She goes to her goat, which is unnamed in the Guardian story. Which sort of broke the story. I don't know if the goat is named in the book, but she goes to her goat, who apparently was very stinky and also not fixed. So it was a horny goat. It would chase the kids around all the time and jump on them and get it stink all over their clothes. So again, rather than just washing the damn goat and getting it fixed, or just, giving the goat away or selling it, she decides to drag the fucking goat to the same pit where she had just ended cricket, and she kills this fucking goat. And apparently, it takes it takes a couple tries for her to kill this goat. Anyway, she then realizes that the entire time that she's been watched by like a construction crew on her property, they've just been watching her like horrified as she kills her dog and her goat. And then her kid comes home and asks, "Where's Cricket?" So just she's an absolute fucking monster. Like, how do you? Oh. And then she puts it in her book. Like she talks about it. She brags about it.
I know, like I was reading that and I was like picturing it in my head, like the way like she kills this dog and like the way you watch a Criminal Minds episode, like standing over the body of this dog, goes, "You know what else I should kill?" And then like goes to get the like that's how it reads, like a serial killer who's not done killing for the night, right? Let me get one more victim in. Fucking psychopath. She's a psychopath.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Donald Trump gave the book a good review on Amazon. There's no fucking way that he actually read that book.
He did not read that book. Or that was his favorite part. He was like, "Yeah, kill those dogs." Like I could see him being all about the killing of the dog because he's a monster too.
Yeah, well, Trump famously like the only president in history that didn't have a dog or just didn't have a pet. I thought a pet.
Clintons didn't have a dog, but they had a
yeah.
cat.
There's been presidents without a dog, but Trump was the only president with no pet at the White House because he's a horrible person too.
He hates animals. He's like on the record. He hates dogs. He thinks they stink.
And Noam talks about in the book how this dog would like snap at her, was really mean to her. It's like, yeah, because the dog can fucking tell that you're a monster. Like,
yeah, it was like the self-defense, Miss NRA, right? The dog didn't want to die. Let's stand his ground, if you will.
Yeah.
Poor puppy. At 14 months, that's a baby. That is a baby.
I just, again, like, this isn't the 1830s where you're putting down a horse to ease its suffering. Like
an old yeller,
or old yeller. Yeah, like you're not putting the dog out of its misery. You're just shooting the dog because you're annoyed.
You don't like
the dog's bothering you. You don't like it. That's not how this works. Like, there are channels. If God forbid you don't like your dog anymore and you don't want to own your dog anymore, please don't shoot it. There are plenty of shelters and ways to give up a dog in a humane way if you don't want to raise the dog anymore.
Yeah, like people hate kill shelters. Like, and you're just a kill woman, right? Like a middleman. I'm just still amazed that like I saw something on, I don't know, Twitter or somewhere, right, where they saw the story break and they were like, "Wow, somebody did some decent oppo on this lady to dig that story up." Nope, she volunteered it. Like, she, like, can't make this shit.
Well, she's on the short list to be the vice president, and initially we all thought that maybe this would like doom her chances, but it is Donald Trump we're talking about. This may actually help her. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I just need somebody at Mar-a-Lago to get on camera. Donald Trump defending her killing the dog.
Yeah. So he gave a book a good review on Amazon. He called the book a winner and said it had interesting ideas for making America great again. Apparently, that was dragging animals off to the gravel pit. Philip Kowski had a lot of good tweets. Philip Kowski went back and dug up every single tweet she'd ever said about any of her animals, and of course, she has a ranch, so she's got a ton of animals. But yeah, it was pretty scary.
Not for long. I wonder if she'll face like animal cruelty charges. I wonder if like anybody will show up at her house and be like, "Hey, yo, bitch, you don't deserve animals."
She said something about how in South Dakota, like animal owners have a right to kill their own pets if it's deemed like a safety issue or something. I don't know how true.
But she admits it wasn't a safety issue, just like an annoying, smelly. You know what? I hate her. It's fine. Whatever. Okay.
So anyway, hug your dogs. Don't let Christy know of anywhere near your dogs.
Never.
We're just about out of time. Thanks, Cathy, for a great conversation. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/justbuyLessCoffee. Subscribe, $5 a month. Get access to our exclusive deep dive series, exclusive guest interviews, behind the scenes content, pre-show content. If you are listening on the audio only versions, Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube Music, make sure you're clicking that download button, download the episode to your local device. Download numbers are how we are ranked with other news and political podcasts. And if you want to see the video recording of the regular episode, go to YouTube, the Just Buy Less Coffee YouTube page. You can see Cathy and I's pretty mugs as we talk about
And me
all this
spill
stuff.
soda all over myself.
And you see Cathy do a Diet Coke spit take all over herself. It's pretty exciting. It was an action sequence. So thank you, everybody, for your continued support. Thank you, Cathy, for a great conversation. We're back after a break. And we love everybody. And we will see everybody next time. You've been listening to Just Buy Less Coffee, answering the deeper questions of American politics, featuring Troy Matthews at Keep Troy Blue and Cathy Cannon at Cannon's Fodder. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and X. All opinions are our own.